Good, happy Sunday, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to Politics with Riley King. Let's begin. Assessing debate performance of Democrat governor, GOP district first candidates. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Close Up with Adam Sexton.
Out the door when it matters most. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast, and we thank you.
What a week for the Granite State debates. From 11 candidates on stage at one time to a pair of Republican showdowns. The electorate has quite a bit to chew on as they get ready to vote in less than 48 hours. Let's get right into a discussion with two of our panelists from this week, Josh Rogers from New Hampshire Public Radio and John DeStaso from WMUR. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Adam.
Appreciate it. Let's start with that Democratic gubernatorial debate, Molly Kelly versus Steve Marchand. John DeStaso, were you surprised at all that Steve Marchand wasn't a bit more aggressive in his approach on stage?
Yes, actually I was, Adam, because by all accounts, Molly Kelly, with her establishment support, is kind of viewed as sort of a slight front-runner, if not the stronger front-runner. And I think there was a way that Steve Marchand, while he's been very specific in his plans, probably could have brought the fight a little bit more to Molly Kelly. I think he got his points across, but drawing that distinction, I think he left a little unsaid.
Now, Josh, you asked a question of Molly Kelly during this debate about immigration and the constitutionality of checkpoints. And let's take a look at how that unfolded during the debate right now. Publicly honored Donald Trump as a...
Ms. Kelly, you've said, quote, Trump's deportation force shouldn't be welcome here, and that you believe that the Border Patrol checkpoint set up on some New Hampshire highways may be unconstitutional. As someone who has a law degree, which part of the Constitution do you think those checkpoints violate?
You know, I think it is throughout our Constitution as well, because we are talking about immigration, we are talking about safety, we are talking about checkpoints in our state and in our country.
Now, Josh, did she clarify that answer at all after the debate, and did that lack of specificity hurt her at all, do you think, with primary voters?
Well, when she came out and spoke to reporters afterwards, she did say that, in her view, the checkpoints would be violative of the Fourth Amendment. As far as its effect on voters, I'm not sure. I think it, may confirm for people who've been watching this debate and are familiar with Molly Kelly that, thinking on her feet probably isn't her strong suit. But as far as something that would really turn off primary voters, I would tend to doubt that they would see that as terribly important.
It seemed like both candidates were kind of playing it safe and perhaps not willing to take too many risks there. Now, for Democrats, there are a few more pressing issues right now than gun control. Here's what the candidates had to say when pressed on that topic during the debate.
Okay, and there you go on some of that video. If you want to watch the whole video, we will share the link with you on the Riley King Network Facebook page. Now let's take a look at the video. Panelists look at debate performance of Democrats District 1 GOP and District 2 candidates. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9 Close Up with Adam Sexton.
National District Democratic primary features 11 candidates. All of them were on this stage in this last week in the Granite State debates. And here to unpack that race and the 2nd Congressional District race are Casey McDermott of the New Hampshire Public Radio and Kevin Landrigan of the New Hampshire Union Leader. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Casey, let's first go to you here. I'm interested for your perspective on that 1st Congressional District Democratic debate. You were lucky enough to be able to watch this on TV, which is what the voters are seeing. What were some of the takeaways there for you?
So I think it's interesting that if I were a voter who was coming to this debate for the first time, I don't think there was a real front runner on that stage, so I think it makes it even more of a free-for-all going into Tuesday. I think one of the things that really stood out to me as someone who has been following the race as a little bit more of an insider maybe is that you had the kind of middle of the pack candidates maybe who elevated themselves and were able to stand out a little bit more. Maybe people like Terrence O'Rourke or Naomi Andrews or Mindy Mesmer, some of them who may not have been seen as front runners in the way that I think Chris Pappas or perhaps Maura Sullivan were, that were able to nonetheless kind of come away from that debate saying, okay, I might have gotten a few more votes from that.
Right, it's really actually kind of astonishing that 11 people could be on stage and all of them seemed like mostly credible candidates. So let's talk about a key moment that unfolded in this debate and generated a lot of conversation afterwards. We asked all of the candidates who they voted for in that bitterly divisive 2016 presidential primary between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Maura Sullivan's answer raised some eyebrows. Another question to wrap up this lightning round. In the 2016 primary, did you vote for Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders? This might be an easy one for you, Mr. Sanders.
I'm going to have to think about that. Bernard Sanders.
Ms. Sullivan.
I supported the Democratic nominee in the general election.
It was an audible ooh in the room when she said that, but we learned some subsequent things about why she had to answer that way. What was it?
We did. Well, for one thing, she was in Washington, D.C., working at the Pentagon at that time during the 2016 primary campaign. D.C. had the last presidential primary in June of 2016. Hillary Clinton got 78% of the vote in that primary. The race was over by then. So it's kind of understandable she didn't actually take part in that election. We continue to kind of look at her voting patterns in other years at the union leader as well. So keep watching for that. But that's just the ultimate kind of mistake that a first-time candidate makes. Even a first-time candidate who's polished, who's got a lot of money behind her. I mean, the metaphor is the deer in the median always becomes roadkill. She tried to straddle both sides. And you talk about those viewers.
Okay, and there you go on some of that video and that report. If you want to watch this whole video, we will share a link with you on the Riley King Network Facebook page. Now let's take a look at New Hampshire IOP Director assesses Granite State debates. Let's take a look at the video from WMER News 9 Close Up with Adam Sexton.
Welcome back to Close Up in the New Hampshire Institute of Politics, and when we're here at the NHIOP, who better to talk to than the Executive Director, Neil Levesque. He wears a lot of hats around here. One of them happens to be running this place. So, Neil, you've seen a lot of debates and political events in your years here. What set this one apart, these Granite State debates? That
Well, I think the thing that set it apart was the fact we had 24 candidates in 4 different debates. This was a spectacular week, a lot of logistics involved. But I think it was good that we got to see a lot of the different candidates up close and not just see television ads and things like that and see lesser known candidates, but really for the first time.
You've worked on a lot of campaigns. We're in crunch time right now, less than 48 hours to go. What are the campaigns doing right now, and can it make a difference?
Sure, it can make a difference. So what they're trying to do is they're going to as many parts of the state as possible. They're working very hard. They're getting the candidate there. Family will come along. Their main supporters usually will tag along on this last 48-hour period. And they're trying to motivate that base. Remember, these primary elections are all about getting those voters that support you to the polls. And so what they're trying to do right now is get them there and get them motivated. It's a very nerve-wracking time. You know, a lot of these candidates, at least since June they've been running. Some have been running for the last year. This has put a lot of energy, time, money, everything into this election. And it all comes down to Tuesday. And, you know, it's a tough time if you lose, and if you win, I think all of a sudden there's going to be a huge spotlight on some of these people that haven't had that before in politics.
Yeah, we could certainly see a surprise. What do you think, though?
Okay, and there you go on some of that video and that report. If you want to watch the whole video, we will share the link with you on the Riley King Network Facebook page. And a reminder, this coming Tuesday is election primary voting day. Don't forget to go to the polls on Tuesday and vote. And at 8 p.m. at night, we will bring you complete coverage when the polls close. So join us for that, and we will share coverage of Channel 9 as well. On the record, what does Ayanna Pressley win mean for Mass governor race? Let's take a listen to the video from WCVB on the record with Ed and Janet Wu.
When we look around, we see a lot of potential. Our neighbors have the heart of a revolutionary and the courage of an underdog. The neighborhoods we come from give us confidence in the future and a vision for success. Envision Bank. See the difference.
Change can't wait. That turned out to be the winning campaign slogan for newly elected Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. On the other hand, longtime incumbent Secretary of State William Galvin was reelected, so can change sometimes wait?
I think the movement's already in place and people are fed up.
I think change is really good and good for her.
Did you expect her to win?
I didn't, but, you know, I think that she's going to be great for the community.
Years of service, I think people are getting tired of the, the old regime.
Well, I think new is not always better. I think Presley has potential.
We're tired of the old regime, for instance, when it came to Secretary of State Bill Galvin.
Depending on the position.
Depending on the position. Well, there's nothing to talk about this week, is there?
Okay, and there you go on some of that video. If you want to watch the whole video, we will share the link with you on the Riley King Network Facebook page. Pence, I'm confident no one on my staff wrote the NYT column. Let's take a listen to the video from WMTW.
Introducing Spectrum Mobile, the best network, the best devices, the best value. Get it now with our unlimited data plan for $45 a line, or our buy the gig plan for $14 a gig, all with unlimited talk and text and no contracts. Click to learn more.
Well, I think it's a disgrace. The anonymous editorial published in the New York Times represents a new low in American journalism. And I think the New York Times should be ashamed. And I think whoever wrote this anonymous editorial should also be ashamed as well. Anyone who would write an anonymous editorial smearing this president, who's provided extraordinary leadership to this country, should not be working for this administration. They ought to do the honorable thing and they ought to resign.
Mr. McGann, did you write that op-ed? No.
I come from a place where if you're not in a position to execute the commander's intent, you have a singular option. It is to leave. And this person instead, according to the New York Times, chose not only to stay, but to undermine what President Trump and this administration are trying to do. And I have to tell you, I find the media's efforts in this regard to undermine this administration incredibly disturbing. And I'll answer your other question directly, because I know someone will say, gosh, you didn't answer the question. It's not.
Okay, and there you go on that video. Papadopoulos' wife acknowledged special counsel team suspected she was Russian spy. Let's take a listen to the video from ABC News This Week with George Stephanopoulos.
Is that a good thing?
Good. Fiber optics can move crazy amounts of data at even crazier speeds. And Fios is a 100% fiber optic network, so you can stream, game, and watch 4K shows all at once.
It's right about that.
See? We're gonna have so much fun here.
100% fiber optic network. 100% phenomenal. Get the fastest speeds available for the best price with the Fios Gigabit connection.
I think he has been sort of the first domino in the Russian gate.
The first domino.
I think it has been sort of.
And you believe he will end up, as you said, on the right side of history?
He's already on the right side of history. I think it will make a big difference.
The wife of George Papadopoulos, Simona Mangiante Papadopoulos, joins us now along with George. Welcome back. You know, we did that interview several months ago. In that interview, you also talked about George as being like the John Dean in this investigation. Do you still believe that?
Yes, in a
How so?
different way. I always thought his contribution was going to be important in a way that is not defined yet, and we probably have to wait at the end of this investigation to have a proper assessment of his contribution.
Well, George.